You know how sometimes you can wake up in the middle of the night from a dream with absolute clarity, and it's like you've solved all of life's questions. There's this happens to me. I just assume it happens to everyone. And there's this absolute certainty that things are making sense and that you've unlocked a key. And it's happened to me when I've been high before. And I've thought, oh, I understand everything. That is what this moment is about. You do understand everything, and also you're going to forget it all. Welcome to the new moon. What I think is probably the most important new moon of this year, and maybe of a long time. Think of it like a rebirth. Hello and welcome to What is Going On Anyway? This is my podcast, and I am your host, Anne Headley. This is where I take some time every 2 weeks to check in on the moon, whether it's new or full, and this time it is a new moon, and I share what's coming up for me as an intuitive. I use my imagination and intuition to tell a story by surfing the present moment and sharing it with you, and sharing it with myself. Sometimes I re-listen, sometimes I don't. Some people call this channeling, and my experience is that it's more of a hybrid and possibly a very good way to brainstorm for the future. I hope this inspires you to look for your own waves of presence, and ultimately I hope this becomes an internal revolution that I believe is necessary to usher us into the future collaboration of being here together. I'm especially interested in my own and others' experiences of spirituality and the question, what are we here for? And what is the meaning of life? And with that, I introduce you to this new moon. This one, I think you can very easily think of as a birth. And as you know, if you've been in the presence of someone else giving birth, because we don't remember our own births. But there is a time before and a time after that this being is part of our stories. And it's like you don't know this new person right away. You're in awe and you go through the beginnings of bonding with this person, whether you are their parent or their relative. And it takes time to really know. Like sometimes it takes 20 years to really know and more who this person is and the impact that this person has in your life. And often we don't understand the impacts of other people in our lives until much later. So if you look at this new moon as a kind of birth, this is the beginning of interacting. It took me a long time to get that word. This is the beginning of interacting in our lives with a really different focal point, with a really different center of gravity. And maybe this is just personal, I don't know. But the thing that I woke up with in the middle of the night is this knowing that everything is basically the opposite of what we think it is. So here I have been imagining that my talents lay in creativity and performance, and maybe it's equally and oppositely true that my talent is being able to sit on the grass and watch the clouds, as much as it might be my interpretation in dance form of the clouds moving. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to grasp at it. This is the thing that it's really hard. It felt absolutely clear to me that what I needed to share was you aren't what you think you are. And we talked about this, or I talked about this last time. You are also everything that you think that you are not, equally as much and sometimes more so than the space that you're occupying. And there was some kind of click of freedom in me to realize that I don't have to put effort into being something. This is like that colonial, hierarchical idea that I would need to better myself and better my station in life, constantly improving. How could I make this more efficient? How could I extract more from my life's experience? And there's something that's died around that. And I know for many forward thinkers that died a long time ago. So I don't want to say like this new moon is the moment where it dies for everyone, but I'm wondering if there is some sort of, I don't want to say it like that. How can I say it in the way that I want to say it? What if there is a kind of gravity that has shifted around hierarchical models, finally? What if? And that I know we see all kinds of crap in the world that feels terrifying around the Project 2025, for example, and a white Christian national agenda. But what if that really is the ashes? What if that is something that is not representing the true lived experiences, thoughts, and feelings of the majority of people? And that what if there is a rumbling of revolution and desire to truly live with a sense of peace and harmony inside and out, and with the natural world? And what if this sense of extraction or taking as much as possible has reached its limit? And for me, I still bring it back to this like bargain hunting type mentality of getting the most for the least, of getting a deal and making a deal, this dealing. And the dealing at its heart is rooted in relationship. So there's some way of coming back to, what do I want? What is it rooted in my innocent and natural desire? And can I say that out loud to the world and make negotiations, which means relationships with honesty and integrity, so that I am supporting my desire in the world and desire/creativity in the world, that I am protecting it, supporting it, standing alongside as the advocate to my own experience of the world according to what I really want to experience. And all of this has become so deranged by being told who we are, who we have to be, what we want, what we could possibly desire, and the very narrow avenues in order to seek that. Now, I am not defending bad behavior, but I just don't know what we as a collective culture thought we would get by narrowing people's expression and saying you have to be one of two things and everything else will be squashed. I mean, I just don't think it works like that, right? So this new moon is something about finally, the world opening, cracking in a way so that there's space, ease, and relaxation for more self-expression. And especially, this includes this insidious need to be constantly productive. People can say, I am doing all of this unlearning around patriarchal capitalism and anti-racism, and yet end each day wondering if they did enough. And this need to unlock why we feel that we have to be productive in order to be valuable is really important. It's an important next thing, because what I'm wondering about is if on some other scale, it is not the measure of what we do, but how we be. And I know that is easy to say, but I really mean, if you could imagine some sort of meter, some sort of like 0 to 100 measure of how often you stayed centered and grounded and relaxed in your body, and really enjoyed your breath, and participated in your experience of the space that you take up in the world. And there was a measure of that at the end of the day. That's the kind of shift that I'm seeing. That's the kind of potential that I see around right now. And of course, like, let's say that you got this little thermometer of this is how often you bead during the day. It sounds like how often you peed, doesn't it? This is how often you bead during the day. And even if you had that at the end of the day, you might not know how to read it from day to day, right? Like, this would take some time. So I'm thinking of like this trajectory of 20 years of the kind of changes that we might see if we stayed in our own bodies, if we stayed grounded and centered in our own bodies and experienced life from that perspective, and not from the false ground of someone else's idea of who we should be. We can't really get anywhere if we're not seated in our being. It's always going to be someone else's idea. And I don't mean someone like there's this one person, but this like some other cultural identity, some other societal code. And each one of us is responsible to look inside and try to figure out who we are, and as much as possible bring that to the world. So we have people that are at the forefront. You can look to people with authentic voices. They've often been through a whole lot of struggle to stay with themselves when they don't match a binary or a societal norm. Basically, I want you to imagine that you are as much everything that you're not as everything that you think you are, and that imagine that you don't have to struggle to be anything anymore. And imagine that the rest of your life, you can simply attend to yourself as if you are an interesting plant. And you don't know exactly what your flower is going to look like, but you do know that you need regular watering, and you need your roots to be able to spread and grow, and you need sunlight, and you know what I mean? Like, you're just as interested in what might flower as everyone else is around you. And maybe sometimes, we learn about who we are by looking at the other plants growing around us, all symbolically. I don't want to take up too much time because I feel like there's a lot of overwhelm right now. It's really easy to kind of get overloaded and over-informed. So let's go right to the I Ching and see. What would you have us know this time? What can we know about this new moon? We get hexagram 36, brightness hidden, which is exactly right. This is the question. I could have just started and ended with this. When no one is looking, who are you? Right? That's exactly. Oh, I feel silly now. That's all you need to know. When no one is looking, who are you? So, without shame, without needing to change that is the relationship that is the most important, the most vital. Who are you? And how do you safeguard that light? How do you safeguard that person? And also, can you just take a moment, like put your hand on your heart again and just love that dear, sweet, innocent being that you are when no one is looking. When you're not trying to be anything for anyone else. I'm just going to read the changing line. Brightness hidden, flying away. Her wings hanging down. The noble one is on the move. For 3 days eats nothing. Has a direction to go. Those in authority have something to say. I don't know. My feeling about line 1 is that this is not easy times. Not easy times, but the inquiry, who am I, is more important than ever before. It moves to hexagram 15, integrity. And the questions, what is the simple reality? How might you return to a state of balance? And what if it didn't all depend on you? I have to say we've gotten 15, integrity, over and over again in these last few years. What's the simple reality? And this is a good question for you to start the day with. Okay, what is today? What is the simple reality? So this morning was just get the podcast out, just get it done. It's the new moon. Simple reality, do it. How might you return to a state of balance? By doing it, being done with it, saying thank you very much. And what if it didn't all depend on you? That question is huge for me most of the time. I put a lot of weight on my shoulders about creating harmony in, that's my Libra moon, in the realms that I find myself. And what if that wasn't my job, but my job was more as a witness and holding balance by witnessing, which is necessary work, listening, witnessing, holding big space while staying centered. And when I say centered, this is like an actual daily practice where I breathe in and I try to feel myself relaxing in my own body. And I do it a lot in conversations with other people lately. I can feel myself going, like I lend my energy into their story. I actually exit myself and I land inside their energy sphere, which is not great for me. Especially if I'm with anxious folks. I think it's just like my kind of anxiety and their kind of anxiety sort of have a party together. I kind of love it, but I feel better when I stay centered and grounded in my body and I make more space to take in this story. And it feels like the active, I want to say work. I don't love that word, but the active efforting is for me to stay in that place where it's like I almost spread my belly down into my pelvis. I'm trying to do it right now as if I could have you feel it. And so I'm there right now and I feel myself inhabiting a place deep in my pelvis. And when I do that, I can't kind of hop around so easily, like I'm more weighted, but I feel better. Sometimes I think I have always been looking for this home in my pelvis, by reaching through other people's experiencing of or experiences. And then if they could calm down, then I would be allowed to. So this flipping the script, I'm doing it backwards. I'm staying centered and grounded and balanced and seeing if I can not affect or change anyone else, but if I can listen carefully and keep staying in my centered, grounded place. It may not make that much sense to hear me talk about it, but try it next time you have. It doesn't even have to be a difficult conversation. It is not easy to do. Like, even say you're just checking out at the grocery store. Sometimes I've noticed when I've been practicing that I'll be in the grocery line and I will what would you say? It's like I hop out of myself for a little while just to get through that interaction of the niceties, the social niceties. And I don't have to do that. It's just sort of an old habit. And so I just go back down. And I'm not any really different on the outside. I'm probably a little slower. And I probably don't say as many jokey things. I don't know. I don't know how it's different. Maybe it's not different at all, but on the outside, but it feels completely different to me on the inside. And it sort of feels like my feet are walking in moss wherever I go. And so what if that's it? Like, what if that's my whole plan, is that I imagine my feet are in moss everywhere I go, and I bring that to every interaction that I have. I don't know. What if? I gotta go. That's it. Gotta go. Oh, I really do have to go. This is all I got. This is your new moon. I hope some of this came through, and I'm sending this to you because words don't always work. So I'm going to send you that feeling that I had in my heart, the relief that I had when I had this recognition that I already am everything that I'm ever going to be, and it's enough. And I'm sending that to you, hoping that this new moon is the birthing of that feeling, that experience, that joy for all of us. Thank you for being here with me. Of course, you can reach out to me on my website, www.annhedley.com, ANNHEDLY. May you be well. May you know peace. May all beings everywhere, whether known to me or unknown, may they be well, and may they know peace. Bye for now.